Hello, this is Bill Steffen. Hey, it is January the 26th. It's a special weather day. It's the anniversary of not one, but two big blizzards here in West Michigan. One occurred in 1967 on January 26th, and the other, which many of you probably remember, the blizzard of 1978. And we're going to talk more about that. Also, it's the anniversary of the highest barometer reading ever in Grand Rapids and the lowest barometer reading ever in Grand Rapids. With both of those occurred on the same date, January 26th, in different years. So we're going to talk about the blizzard of 78 in just a little bit, but I want to talk about current weather here for a little bit. Big story here is the cold air. Boy, it is chilly out there. And this pattern is going to hold right on through the week. We may go through the entire week without getting warmer than 20. And that's pretty hard to do here in Grand Rapids. We're closer to the equator than we are to the North Pole, but boy, it sure feels like the North Pole outside now. There'll be several chances for snow, mostly light, but we'll talk about what's coming later on today, especially for the lakeshore areas. There still may be some slick spots, especially if you're in western Van Buren County, down into Berrien County, heading towards Chicago. There will certainly be enough snow there to cause some icy spots. And more clouds than sun, but a little bit of sun expected this week. Okay, here's the advisory map. We have one pink county on the map here. That is Berrien County, winter storm warning for up to half a foot of new snow. We have advisories in effect for Ottawa County, and that would be basically western Ottawa County. A band of snow is going to come in off the lake as the wind shifts a little bit more toward the northwest. That'll push the band onshore here in Michigan. So if you're in the western half of Ottawa County, especially, even in the eastern half, you're going to see that band come in. So it will snow for perhaps an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then let up. But western Van Buren County for sure, western Allegan County, and also Cass County down there as well. Now we've also got some counties. If we can go back once more, we have some counties in light blue, and if you look at the legend off to the side, that's a cold weather advisory. It will be coldest here probably on Tuesday because of the fact that we'll have a wind and the wind chills will be lower. So keep the winter coats handy. We've also got a little stripe of green up there in Newaygo County. That is an ice jam that's causing the river there to rise up the flood stage. That's the Muskegon River. I know many of you have gone tubing around the Newaygo area there, but from Newaygo on down to around Bridgeton, the water levels have been fluctuating. You're going to hear more about ice jams here, not only as it continues to stay cold, as we generate more ice, but also with the fact that when we warm up here and this starts melting, there'll be some ice jams out there to deal with too. All right, now let's go on here. We got lots to talk about. Here's anticipated snow, basically nothing for Big Rapids, less than an inch for Grand Rapids, maybe an inch or two for Muskegon and Kalamazoo. And then once you get right by the lake, as that band comes in there, it could produce as much as 3 to 6 inches in the southwest corner of the state, down into northern Indiana. All right, we got lots more to talk about. Up north, there'll be a little bit of light snow in places, but you can see a lot of 0 to 1 inch, just a dusting in many areas. But if you're up toward Rogers City, Alpena, there'll be a band of snow up in there that may produce a couple of inches. And also east of Traverse City, that area that normally sees a fair amount of snow. We may very well pick up enough snow there to shovel as well, but really not a lot of heavy snow here in northern Michigan over the next several days or so. All right, we'll head down to south and show you the winter storm warning is not only just for Berrien County, but it's also for LaPorte and Porter counties in Indiana. There's an advisory for the South Bend area too as this band comes on shore. And if it starts snowing hard, just slow down, take it easy, and you should be able to get where you're going okay. All right, let's go on now, and we got to move along here. Look at the snow that's going to fall east of Lake Ontario. That area, I talked about that before, the Tug Plateau. And that red color is up to 18 inches of new snow is expected as a band of lake effect snow comes off Lake Ontario. Lake Erie is icing up. Lake Erie is about 70% ice covered now, so you can see there's not as much lake effect coming off of Lake Erie. But you can see here in Michigan, we're going to get some snow there. Let's zoom in a little bit. By the way, there's more snow east of Marquette there in the UP. 66-hour snowfall, so that's over a 3-day period we're looking at a fair amount of snow. And this is Grand Rapids. We could see as much as 1 to 3 inches on the west side. But I don't know if we quite get to the high end here. I think we'll get some snow on Tuesday. Tuesday may be 1 to 3 inches here, and that's combined with the snow that will fall here today. So there will be some at least light snow around later today, and also Tuesday and Wednesday. And then I think we're fairly dry toward the end of the week. But if you look at the Battle Creek, the 66-hour snowfall totals, you got a 63% chance of at least 2 inches, but only a 19% chance of 4 inches. So it'll be a little bit. It will be light, fluffy snow that falls. We don't get the heavy, wet snow when the temperatures are this cold. And you can see that band there on the map, that yellow and orange band there from Holland down south toward Benton Harbor, where the snow may be a little bit heavier. All right, now we can go on here. High temperatures on Sunday. And Ludington, the warmest spot, if you call 15 warm. Grand Rapids made it to 14. Muskegon and Big Rapids 13. Battle Creek at 12. Holland Airport at 11, as was Cadillac. And look down on the bottom. This is really interesting. Orlando, Florida had a high temperature Sunday of 87 degrees. They also have a freeze watch in effect for Central Florida for Monday night. Wow. Isn't that something? 87. I saw Fort Myers at 85. Sunrise time, 8:03. Sunset at 5:47. We gain another minute's worth of daylight today. Grand Rapids sees some snowfalls at 55.4 inches. We will add to that this week, of course. Average high and low temperature. The average high temperature goes up a degree beginning today. It goes from 30 to 31. It'll hang at 31 here for a week or so before it goes on up to 32 and doesn't reach 36 or 37 until March 1st. So it's going to be a slow climb. Record high temperature for today, back in 1944, we hit 62, and in 1927, which is the year we had the highest barometer reading ever, it was clear, calm, and 9 below zero in the morning in Grand Rapids. Nice picture there, by the way, in the last picture there of the ice rink at Holland. You can see there were people on the general ice thing. I don't see anybody playing curling at the current time, but there are a lot of people out there enjoying the day despite the fact it was pretty cold. Okay, next picture. And we'll take a look at the Holland Beach. I didn't see anybody there when I tried to grab a picture. So it was cold there. The wind will be turning more off the lake from the west. Waves should be around 3 to 5 feet during the day, but there is a fair amount of ice near shore, which is protecting the beach from any erosion when we have these windy days. Okay, today's temperature is 16 degrees. That's actually warmer than it was yesterday. Low temperature early morning around 3. About a 70% chance of snow. The chance of seeing a period of snow today is about 90% for the lakeshore, and probably only about 30% once you get east over toward US 127. That would be Jackson, Lansing, Mount Pleasant. Humidity drops to 65% this afternoon. Winds out of the west at 10 to 20 miles an hour. All right, taking a look at the 3-day forecast. We're looking for a smidgen of sun in between the clouds here, but not much. There'll be more clouds than not. And across all of lower Michigan, we're looking for temperatures to hold in the teens once again. So the wind will be a little variable as low pressure scoots on by, but it will certainly be a cold period for us. All right, some high temperatures for this Monday. Grand Rapids, about 15, 16. Certainly warmer than across the lake. We have a west wind today coming off the lake, and that will add some warmth. High temperature expected to be 6 in Green Bay, 7 in Milwaukee, but 15, 16 in Grand Rapids. So we get a boost of almost 10 degrees there. And you can see 8 in Chicago, but 18 in Benton Harbor. Lake helping us out a little bit. This is the UP, and as you can see, a lot of temperatures in the single figures to low and mid-teens. That's all we get. Sault Ste. Marie still has, I believe, 29 inches of snow on the ground on the end of town that they measure. So it's a lot of snow. All right, let's go on to Tuesday, and we'll show you what's going on there. We've got temperatures in the mid to upper teens, And you can see it does warm up a few degrees on the other side of the lake. At least they're in double digits over there, but it's going to be yet another cold day. And we'll take a look up in the UP and show you what's expected up on there Tuesday afternoon. So on Tuesday, up in upper Michigan, we've got temperatures of around 5 above for Ironwood, 10 for Marquette, 12 for Sault Ste. Marie. So another very chilly day. We're adding up ice pretty quickly on the area lakes, and the inland lakes are pretty solid ice for walking across, but I would always check and make sure that you're able to do that safely. Monday, 70% chance of snow for Grand Rapids, 90% Lakeshore, 30% for Lansing. High temperature 16. Tuesday, 80 or 90% chance of snow for everybody. There'll be a little clipper coming by, but we'll only get a couple inches. Might make it to 19. Heat wave, 16 again on Wednesday with about a 60% chance of some lake effect snow showers. We may get through Thursday without much in the way of snow, and Friday may turn out to be a dry day, but temperatures stay cold, only in the mid to upper teens. And if we do get partly cloudy skies here, it may get cold enough to get below zero again here Thursday and Friday morning. So we're looking at that. These are temperatures across the U.S. It's still going to be warm down in extreme southern Florida, but you can see how temperatures cool off once you get up to extreme northern Florida. Look at Birmingham at 33 degrees for a high temperature. Boy, grab the winter coat, Mish. We'll have readings ranging in Florida from the low to mid 80s down in southern Florida, down toward the Keys and Miami, to only in the 40s up by Pensacola. So quite a difference there. You can see the cold air centered over the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, and New England. And temperatures are pretty cold in Texas. There may not be a single place that makes 60 in Texas. That's kind of unusual. 66-hour snowfall. You can see the snow winding down. That's the last of the system snow that started in New Mexico and went up toward New England. But that's snow falling mainly today, and then lake effect to follow east of Lake Ontario. You can see the snow in Michigan there. A little bit of snow in Colorado and the mountains of Washington, but other than that, most of the country should have some time to dry out here a little bit. Okay, some snowfall totals from the big storm that missed us to the south. Crested Butte, Colorado had 2 feet of snow. Midland, Pennsylvania with 15 inches. Up to a foot of snow fell in parts of Indiana, Illinois, and Missouri, just off to our south, and Ohio. Little Rock, Arkansas there with 8 inches of snow, and it's going to stick around. They're going to have snow on the ground in Little Rock, Arkansas for more than several days, it looks like, with the cold air hanging around, though they will see some sunshine. Next slide shows the freezing rain that's left. There's still a little bit of that going on today from South Carolina up toward Long Island and Connecticut, but then that will head out to sea. The last I checked, we had 862,000 homes without power in the United States. That was as high as nearly 1 million. I saw it well over 900,000. State with the most power outages is Tennessee, followed by Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, and Kentucky, all with very significant areas without power due to the freezing rain. Okay, the dark blue that you see covering almost all of Texas is an extreme cold weather warning. The light blue is a cold weather advisory. So that covers much of the United States, including northern Florida. The winter storm warnings will end from Indiana and Kentucky from left to right as the day goes on today and the snow tapers off. But that's pretty much every county except northern lower Michigan and the eastern UP that have some kind of advisory or watch. The reason they don't have a cold weather advisory in parts of the UP is that people are just used to that up there. The criterion are different for you can get a cold weather warning for northern Florida for temperatures of 30, while in Michigan, of course, you have to get down to 20, 30 below before they start to do that. All right, let's go on. Hey, there was some severe weather. Southeastern Alabama, northern Florida. We had reports of possible tornadoes, but now they haven't confirmed any yet, but they've had 40 reports of wind damage. including a 71-mile-an-hour gust in Montgomery, the capital of Alabama. That area around Dothan also saw numerous areas where there were trees and power lines down. A little bit of building damage, not much, but again, this was due to strong winds and thunderstorms that occurred along that strong cold front. Hopefully we're done with that. There shouldn't be any thunderstorms, I don't think, in the United States here over the next couple of days. There's certainly no severe weather. Okay, what else do we have here for us? The 8 to 14 day outlook, and that continues to give us near to below average temperatures, but at least we're getting near normal. Near normal would be like a heat wave. I get the barbecue out if we got to 30 degrees here. And you can see the warmer air across the western United States spilling out into the northern plains. And the cold air gets down to Florida. Look at the below down there in South Florida. Well, they'll have a couple of days with temperatures probably only in the low to mid 60s there, which is a cool day for them, but not unusual to get a day or two like that in January. Okay, precipitation-wise, we've got one big high-pressure center over the western U.S. For the first week of February, and another big one over the Mid-Ohio Valley and Mid-Mississippi Valley. There'll be some southeasterly winds that'll bring some moisture up into South Texas along the Rio Grande. It's wet in Alaska, which means more snow for them. There may be a little bit of a clipper going by to provide some snow for northern Minnesota, but all in all, not much going on across the country. And that's good news. I want to remind you again that we have the ice jam threat that will continue. Beware of the fact that there are areas that are prone to ice jams, such as Robinson Township along the Grand River and around rare occasion in Comstock Park. But keep in mind that ice jams can occur anywhere along any of the significant rivers that we have here, and water can rise fairly quickly. So have a plan for that if you get word that the river is rising quickly, that you can move. I know some of the homes that are in Comstock Park along the Brigadier Trail just instantly move everything from the first floor up to the second floor. That they can accomplish that and keep things dry. All right, let's see what else we have here. We are being joined by Michelle.
Hello.
You've had some interesting weather in Birmingham there, warm and then cold and rain.
Yes, we ran slightly less than half of our flight schedule today.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
which just because we aren't doing the same number of flights doesn't mean I'm not as busy. In fact, sometimes it can be exactly the opposite, because if people check bags and then they decide not to travel and they want them back, then it's constantly going back and forth, retrieving things. So actually, the more disrupted we are, actually the more busy we can be.
So you spend a little bit more time inside than outside if you're having fewer planes take off.
Well, actually.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Got a cough. I'll be right back. Talk about something else.
It's contagious. It's contagious. Sometimes I have to cough too. We are going to be talking about the blizzards of 67 and 78, which were absolutely amazing storms. The blizzard of 78 made my career. It really did here in Grand Rapids, because what happened was that there was nothing to do except watch TV. We had no computers, no cell phones. So all people did was watch TV. And for a while, I was the only meteorologist in Grand Rapids, bona fide meteorologist that was on TV. And I was interrupting like every half hour. And it was pretty crazy. I think I was at the station for 3 days without leaving. So I was happy to get home and eventually take a shower. And then I had to think about digging my car out, which was at Old Orchard Apartments at Alpine and 4 Mile Road. And my car was literally buried in snow. You couldn't see very much of it. There was a drift there. It is Blizzard's birthday, the Blizzard of 78, a.k.a. the Cleveland Super Bomb. And
you like my shirt?
Oh, look at that. That's right.
I should have for the special occasion.
I should have worn mine, except we keep it kind of cool in the house, so I like wearing the flannel shirts. But yeah, are those still available, or is there any merch left?
I don't know. We've got our own merch store.
Okay, cool.
It supports the show. Check it out.
Right.
Shameless plug.
Oh, the weather maps. My favorite part. Look at the little L that's down there in Mississippi. Okay, that really intensified coming north. There were actually two storms that merged to create the blizzard of 78. One coming down from the northwest, and you can see the low pressure system there near Duluth. and then one coming up from the south. And they formed this huge low pressure system, which was in West Virginia, and then actually backed up to the northwest towards Sarnia and Sarnia, Ontario, and Port Huron, Michigan. And all throughout southern lower Michigan, that was the lowest barometer reading we have ever had. The Cleveland area, northern Ohio, probably got it as bad as any area, where they had wind gusts over 70 miles an hour that blew the snow into horrendous drifts. I stood on a snowdrift here it was along 131. They were trying to get 131 open. And I went down there to try and grab a pick or two. And I stood on a snowdrift that was 14 feet high. They couldn't use the snowplow. They had to get a front end loader and just little by little move the snow away so they could then use the snow plows to open up the road. And I think
Where do you even move it to?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, there were some municipalities that were just dumping it in the river. And I don't know whether you're allowed to do that with the DNR now, but I don't know. I know up in the UP, there's a special place like an old abandoned gravel pit or something like that, where they dump snow up around the Houghton area. And you can go up there and find snow in August that's still there, because they just piled the stuff up so high. But yeah, where would you put something like that? And can you imagine being a dairy farmer and trying to get your milk to market? So it really created some hardships for people. There were some schools, most of the schools were closed. This was on a Wednesday. So most schools were closed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then reopened on that following Monday, so 5 days later. But there were some schools that were closed for up to 2 weeks. I mean, you had to get all the power on. You had to get everything cleared out so they could move the buses on gravel roads. So it was pretty amazing storm.
How did you find out school was closed back then? On the radio?
Oh, that's an interesting story. Radio did school closings. TV did not do. When I first showed up in '74, TV did not do school closings. In fact, WZZM signed off the air at midnight. We did the 11 o'clock news, and then we did a half an hour sitcom. It was Hogan's Heroes or one of those. And then we actually signed off the air. We did not, we put a slide up there, was all. And then we just didn't sign back on again until 6:58. And at 6:58, we did the Blue Angels with the national anthem, and we did 1 minute of exercising with Jack LaLanne.
Yes, excellent.
Doing the push-ups and all that kind of stuff. So, there was nothing there. Radio, and especially in Grand Rapids, the authority was Wood Radio. But radio was a big deal. I mean, you didn't just listen to it when you were in your car. So it was interesting. And so I got here in '74, and I said, well, they in '75, January '75, they started doing AM America, which became Good Morning America on ABC. The anchors were Bill Butel and Stephanie Edwards from New York. And so since they were starting this show at 7, I think for a while they moved Bozo back to 6:30 in the morning. And then Bozo got moved to just Saturdays, I think, where they did an hour. I'd have to talk to Bozo himself and get the lowdown on that. By the way, Bozo is still alive and kicking, and I believe he is 87 years old. Grand Rapids Bozo is, I think, the best Bozo in the entire country. But that's another story. Anyhow, I went to the news director and I said, we're signing on early. Why don't we do school closings? And I think the first thing I got was, they do school closings on radio. I said, yeah, but everybody stays tuned to listen.
Yeah, exactly.
And Bruce Grant was doing he was the DJ in the morning on Wood. And it was, I mean, they would make a big deal. They do a drum roll, and now it's Jennison, will Grand Rapids make it, and all that, and that they would interrupt if they were playing music, they'd interrupt music, bulletin, Rockford schools are closed. And they had a huge audience. And it really was. But if you wanted school closings and news and information in the morning, you went to Wood Radio. So that was interesting. The old days back then. And Bruce Grant is long passed on, but he was the master here in Grand Rapids. He was the man that owned the airwaves in the morning. All right, let's see. What else can I tell you about that? The guy in Traverse City who was at the radio station there had to actually dig down in the snow to find the door handle so he could get in the building. Can you believe that?
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, you lived in Traverse City for a while. You know what it's like when you get that storm coming off the bay.
There was one episode where I was the last person at work. This was not the prosecutor's office. This was an office building. And it got so cold that the door lock froze and I was stuck in the building.
Oh, no kidding.
Okay.
Ooh.
So I did the thing where I heated up hot water and I threw hot water on the back of the key lock, and that froze it enough that I could open it. But by the time I ran, turned around, closed it, stuck my key in to lock it, my key got stuck in the lock.
Oh, wow.
So then the next day, well, I got out because it worked to open the door, and then my key got stuck in the lock. I'm like, well, no one's going to get in because the key's stuck. I guess I'll just go home. And I told the others, but they didn't get the message. So the next day I got to work and it was, who left their key in the lock? I'm like, I didn't leave it there. It got stuck there and we're all okay.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's interesting. I bet we get some neat emails from people that have stories to tell about the blizzard of 78 or even the blizzard of 67, which was a very similar story.
Definitely leave your comments. We're just getting started, by the way.
The blizzard of 67, by the way, I was in high school. I was a sophomore in high school back in Winnetka, Wilmette, Illinois. Okay, Muskegon had the most snowfall, 52 inches. That was over a 4-day period, by the way. It just kept snowing. Michigan declared a state of emergency, as did other states. The Ohio Turnpike was shut down, for 2 days before they got that open, and that was a priority. 100,000 cars were abandoned on Michigan highways. And how do you get that off? I mean, you have to somehow get a tow truck out there to somehow get them out. The Kalamazoo Gazette didn't publish for 3 days. I don't know how the Grand Rapids press did, but I was at work for 3 days. Somebody volunteered to walk down from WZZM, which is on 3 Mile Road, walk down to Myers. Myers had opened up. And bring back guy brings back ham sandwiches and bologna. And I'm kind of like, breakfast of champions. Here we go.
Out of everything they sell at Meijer.
And we were scrounging around because remember, Bozo used to give away. Bozo gave every kid a goodie bag that came in, and in the goodie bag there was Hostess Twinkies. So. Somebody made the declaration that it was free game for Hostess Twinkies. So here he had all of us here looking through the bags trying to find some Twinkies. So it was fun. It really was.
That seems fair.
Much fun as a disaster can be, but we all survived, and I was amazed at how people worked together. I mean, on so many blocks, I heard that some high school kids got a sled and they went in and got supplies, or I remember the National Guard was called out. I believe it was the National Guard. Don't quote me on that yet. I'm an old man and don't remember everything exactly. But to get some woman that was going into labor in Allegan County, in rural Allegan County, and they got out there with an all-terrain vehicle, got her out into the hospital. So interesting. But that was an amazing storm. How many days were you at WZZM before going home? I think it was 3, if I'm not mistaken, 2.5 or 3. Where did you sleep? Well, I kind of didn't, but I did catch a little nap every now and then on there was a sofa outside the weather office. So I lay down there, just took my suit coat off and just lay down and, like I said, everything there. There was a couch in the women's restroom that was kind of up for grabs too. And I'm trying to think of where else. I don't know. Other than that, at Wood, when I used to keep a sleeping bag with me.
I remember the couch. The couch would have been a good place to sleep in that circumstance.
Yeah, and you just open the door and leave a sign on the door saying there's a guy sleeping on the sofa. Well, people adjust and people, really try and work with the situation that you've got. And it was interesting because after this blizzard of 78, we had the coldest February ever and the fifth coldest March. So, I mean, the snow pile stuck around forever. I mean, it was like in April and we were still looking at snow from the blizzard of 78. Interesting.
So what were your supplies? So you're walking in, so you've got to bring what you can carry on your person. So
Oh
what
yeah,
did you think were the things you had to
it
have?
wasn't much. It was interesting. I wanted to make sure I had a pencil and paper in case I met somebody on the way to work that could give me some information, or I could, flag down a policeman or something like that. There was virtually no traffic. I mean, there's just no way you could move, even on the expressways. So, I mean, I just walked right down the middle of Alpine. I just found a 2-track where somebody had come through and just walked down there, got to the station. Since the station signed off at night, there was nobody there. I had a key to get in the place. And so I was just hoping my key would work because it was really cold and windy. I mean, it was.
What time did you get there?
Oh, let's see. My first radio show was a little after 6 a.m. and I wanted to get there at least an hour ahead of time. And I actually planned on 2 hours. So I probably started leaving for the station around 4 a.m. or 3:30. I was surprised that the evening shift got home.
Yeah.
But the news department did a great job with what happens in a situation like this is that you have a weather event, and for a while it's a weather story, and then it becomes more of a news story as to how people are reacting to the event. The Kalamazoo tornado was over in half an hour. And afterwards, the story was not the weather forecast, but it was how people were dealing with this disaster that happened. Interesting. And what did I carry with me? I don't know. I didn't carry much in. I just figured that there was a vending machine at work, and which works sometimes. And I could easily go a day or two without food. There was the water was working and everything, so I was just ready to tackle the event. I wouldn't say excited. I would say I was just kind of a little bit the adrenaline's going. You're gonna help people along out of this disaster and do something worthwhile. I've always wanted to do something like I said, worthwhile. I always wanted to be relevant, and I found a way to do that by doing weather. Oh my goodness. that is first of all, that's an old car. That is not a modern car. But this car was buried for more than a month. Where did you find that pic?
National Weather Service.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and
they've got some good ones.
Okay, go back to the last slide for just a second. This is cool. Note that all the snow is pretty much blown off the roofs. One of the neat things about this storm was the fact that there was so much wind that we didn't have the roofs caving in like we sometimes have when you have that wet, sloppy snow, where there's a lot of weight on the roof. This car was buried for a month. Is it on the street? We don't know for sure, right?
Looks like it's on the street.
Yeah, it looks like there's another car above it, or on the left edge over there. Oh my, it was buried for a month.
Well, we've got some igloo action.
Yes. Take your TV with the antenna and take a cord out there. It looks like he's got a cord on the right side there, and you could set yourself up and have your own little cottage out there in the snow. But people did make igloos. We took pictures of igloos. We had somebody that made a snowman that had to have been 2 stories high.
This is a big one. You could stand up and jump.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? That is really interesting. Towboat trapped in the ice, Ohio River. Yes, it was really cold, and there was a lot of ice down there, and it's just going to be stuck there forever until somebody got it out. Fortunately, the boating season on the Great Lakes had ended, and so there really was very little out there. But some boats were trapped in the shore and not able to move for a while until everything thawed out. Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah, they had it the worst. I believe there were 55 storm-related fatalities in Northwest Ohio.
Both from exposure was one because someone was stuck in their car or the power went out at their house, and
Yeah.
heart attacks from shoveling snow.
Yeah, those are the two things. Is that, I mean, I I broke down at age 63 and got a snowplow service for the driveway. But before that,
Okay, no, wait. We got to tell the story of how you ended up with a snowplow service, because it really wasn't you broke down and got a snowplow service. So
well,
one year, the children got together, the children that don't let him climb on ladders anymore, and we decided as a group that it was time for him to have a snowplow service. So we called around, asked, signed him up, and paid for it for the first year, because that's how stubborn he was, because that's how much he liked shoveling snow. And literally he asked me how the people who plow the snow know to come to your house. I was like, well, Dad, there's these people on TV called meteorologists, and they forecast the weather, and the people that plow the snow watch the weather, and then they know. And also they live in your neighborhood. So when it's snowing at their house, it's probably also snowing at your house 2 miles away. So they get their snowplow. And anyways, once he got his snowplow service, he was like, oh yeah, this is why people hire these. This is really convenient.
well,
And now
I
he has
remember that with so
snowplow
many
service.
different things. When I mean, I was born in 1951. Okay, so the first two cars that we had didn't have air conditioning. And I was kind of like, well, open the windows, let that Beach Boys music go out to the world. And
I don't think our cars as kids had air conditioning. The Suburban didn't.
No, I don't think so. The
The
first
blue and
one,
white one?
yeah. The first Suburban I got was in 1979, I believe. Always wanted a Suburban, big old tank of a thing. And then of course
They were
gas got
practical.
$4 a gallon, and then I wasn't quite as keen on them.
Mm.
We had a 40-gallon tank, and at $4 a gallon, that would be $160 to fill up the tank on a Suburban.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money. But yeah, and then we had I remember the winters we had in 2014, 15, and then 15, 16, with the 2 winters we had a ton of snow to shovel here at the house, and I was really grateful that I had a snowplow service. It's interesting. Greenville, Ohio, and that is a picture taken by a helicopter. Today it might even be a drone, but you can see that that looks like the expressway. You can see a clover leaf over there on the left side, and the city on the right. But there was snow from this system all the way down into Tennessee.
Yeah, lots of states were affected.
Extensive storm and a lot of wind. But it's interesting. I love looking at the ground from planes, as you know. Bill, rank these most impressive West Michigan storms. Blizzard of 78, that's got to be at or near the top. The derecho of 1998 caused more damage and was just as disruptive. So I think those two are the top in my career for general weather. I mean, obviously, if there's a storm that wrecked your house or something like that, that's the biggest storm, on your list. The derecho of 1991, that was a scary one because we had gone to the beach and I had brought you girls home. Mom wasn't with us. So
I was with Mom in Chicago at Grandma and Grandpa's house, so I missed this one.
Okay.
But I heard about it. I was a little jealous that Julie and Marie were there for the fun.
I told them to get down, crouch down, not only to make for a lower center of gravity for the vehicle, but also just to keep them from getting scared. But I watched, golly, 20, 30 shingles fly off my house.
Why didn't you pull into the house?
Because there are power lines right in the driveway, and the wind was already starting to come up. I didn't want a power line to land on the car.
And because you could watch from the orchard.
Right. Plus the fact that the garage door faced west and the wind was going to be strong from the west. And you don't want the wind coming in there to blow out the garage, which is.
And I don't think we had remote clickers back in the day. So you would have had to get out and press the button to close the garage door.
Yeah, I don't know. We got them as soon as they kind of were available, but didn't have those. I remember somebody at WZCM. We had an employee named Jeannie, And there were all these advertisements when garage door openers just came out for the Genie automatic garage door picker upper. And so we did a spoof where this guy took a clicker and pointed it at Genie and went, and Genie got out and opened up the door. It was pretty funny.
I remember playing the game where you'd stand by the door and press the button to close the garage door, and then you'd run and see if you made it before it crushed you to death. I don't know how we survived the 80s, really.
That's something. Well, I
remember doing that all the time as a kid.
I'm much more cautious in my old age. The Today Show of 91 had 85-mile-an-hour winds on the north side of Grand Rapids. It was a smaller scope to the damage than the 98 one. The 98 one was just, I mean, everybody from Kent County north to almost Traverse City was without power. I mean,
I remember being very happy about May snow days in 1998 when that happened.
Oh, yeah, that was in May.
And you did live spots from the house. And when I got back to school, all of my classmates wanted to know if I was like operating the camera or something. And I said, absolutely not. I was in bed sleeping like all reasonable teenagers should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one where I actually called home, talked to Mom, and said, pick up the kids and take them to the storm shelter in the basement. I have a house with a storm shelter in it. It's got a foot of concrete on the ceiling. An F7 tornado could not get down into that.
It's where he used to hide the Christmas presents in the top drawer in the back.
Did you ever find them?
Yes, obviously. I've told you this before, that I would go in, I'd go in and I would see what they were. And then I would tell you that was what I wanted for Christmas so that you would think you got me everything I wanted.
Yeah. And sometimes you were satisfied with the simplest stuff. I remember when you kids were really, really, really little, I gave you Cheerios to string on a piece of dental floss or string. And you were just enthralled with putting those Cheerios on the dental floss. So, interesting stuff. The Groundhog's Day blizzard, by the way, was just about as bad as the blizzard of 78, except we were ready for it. We were talking blizzard 5 days in advance, and everybody was on the same page. National Weather Service, the TV meteorologists, we had the same forecast, and because everything was pre-positioned and we were ready to go, the blizzard of 78, no, we did not anticipate 15 inches in 15 hours with 40 to 50 mile an hour winds. I went 6 to 10 inches the day of, and 6 to 10 additional inches, and I thought I was crazy. We already had like 10 inches, but that was interesting. Did I miss any? You know what you could or couldn't add? It's maybe a different category as the tornadoes that we've had over the years. The 56 Standale tornado, the 65 Palm Sunday tornadoes, the 67 tornado that came through the south end of Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo tornado, May 13th, 1980.
I've told that story on here before, but that's one of my favorite stories of you when you wrote me. So there was email when I was in college, and you emailed me to tell me that you would be picking me up on the anniversary of the Palm Sunday tornadoes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No more information, just like everyone knew when that was. And this is before the internet was enough that you could Google when are the Palm Sunday tornadoes.
Yeah.
So I had to write you back for more information.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting how different people think differently. In directions, I think if I'm saying you're going to make a left turn, I might not say left. I might say you're going to turn east, or you're going to turn west, or north or south. I'm much more apt to do that than a normal person would. And people look at me like, what are you talking about? Do I go left or do I go right? Oh, sorry. But that's interesting. I remember showing you girls some of the stuff that we worked with. You really took to that very well. When you were 8 years old, you made a map that I showed on TV. Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, where you had to take the electric pen I had you do fill to get the color in every state. You had to fill them one at a time. Mm-hmm. It was extremely time consuming. When we first got graphics, when I first went over to Channel 8 in 2001, it would take sometimes 45 minutes to render the 8-day forecast. So, I mean, now it renders in a couple seconds. But it was amazing back then that you had to have your forecast done by 3 o'clock to render all the graphics for a 6 o'clock news show. I kept thinking, is this a good idea or not? But things, of course, are greatly improved. This is interesting. The temperature at 1:36 a.m. January 25th, 2026 was minus 22 in Cornell in the UP. Now, once in a great while, you get temperatures like that in the UP. It's not very often that we get temperatures like this down here in Grand Rapids. We mentioned coldest temperatures here this past week with minus 33 at Leota, which is a little station in Clare County. We had minus 30 or minus 31 at Cadillac. We had minus 27 at Big Rapids and minus 19 in Grand Rapids. That is a really cold day statewide. So interesting. Well, thanks, Joy. We appreciate the videos and the pictures that you take from up there in Escanaba. This movie set in northern Michigan, really? Was released on January 26, 2001. All right, so I was still at ZZM back then. This photo from Joy Moore is a clue. Okay. Joy Moore is UP. I don't remember any Uper movies. The moon. I don't know whether I would have come up with this on my own or not, but that is, since I saw this slide before, I can tell you it's Escanaba in the moonlight. And that's an interesting clue.
Mm-hmm. So the moon that's not really the moon. This is the photo that she sent us.
Oh, okay.
Overlooking the Escanaba River. This is the stars.
I was going to say the moon has disappeared. I think that's going to be the lead story tonight at 11 o'clock. Oh, wow.
Yeah, thanks, Joy, for the photo and for the weather reporting.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie. Have you seen it?
I don't believe so. I don't see many movies because I work second shift. I've worked second shift pretty much all my career here.
If you're watching and you've seen it, let us know if it's worth a watch.
Yeah. We can go to Blockbuster and rent it. Oh, no, wait a minute. That was 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. All right. What else we got here? This hockey player, deemed the great one, I know it already, was born January 26, 1961. So he would be 10 years younger than me. He played in the NHL for 20 seasons for 4 different teams. Probably, yeah, you got Edmonton down there in the bottom. For 4 different teams, he's the leading career point scorer in NHL history. He won 4 Stanley Cups with the Edmonton Oilers. I will tell you also, he has a cameo appearance in the Rock and Roll Star song that Bare Naked Ladies did. Or is that the right group?
I have no idea.
You can go to YouTube on it. I want to be a rock and roll star. And it's got all these people in it. And Wayne Gretzky is one of the people that's in the video. There are some people that are not famous at all. And there are people that are famous.
Nickelback. I do know the song. We all just want to be big rock stars.
Yeah.
Live in hilltop mansions, driving 16 cars.
Yep, exactly. That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
And Wayne Gretzky is in that video.
Yeah, I remember that as himself.
Yeah, why I remember that, I don't know. But he is lip syncing that part. It's interesting. Everybody lip syncs on the video, except for I think Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. He's the only one that sings his line. So that's interesting. All right, fun.
Yeah, there we go.
Gretzky, there he goes. Yeah, indeed. Boy, that's a pretty picture,
isn't it?
Wow.
Mm-hmm. The lighting in the back. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. That looks like a tunnel. Keeley, that's boy, that is an awesome picture. Any more details on the pic except it was after a snowstorm, and of course there can't be too much wind because the snow's still sticking to the trees. Interesting.
Thanks, Keely. It's beautiful.
By the way, I got to remember I'm going to be on Jethro Radio at 11 a.m. talking about the blizzard of 78. So this Monday,
fun.
we'll do that a little bit. All right, let's. Well, that's interesting. That is from up in Benzie.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like a bigger mountain than it really is, but that looks like a pretty good sized mountain. That's just a mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Benzie, all the snow there, the perpetual cloud cover. Neat, interesting picture, but I would not have pegged that as being Benzie. I would have picked that as being like in the Appalachians or something like that.
Benzie, there's not much there, and yet you're never bored.
Yeah.
There we go. There's the chimes.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, 12 o'clock. Okay. I think 11:30 was in this too, I heard. We're talking about the blizzard of 78. Wow, we're just going to go on all night here.
Yes, and yes, he also has a bird clock, and my husband describes their house as the insomniac's village because everything is set up for no one to ever sleep. Yeah, you've got the chimes going off, you got the bird clock, you've got the real birds that wake you up, you've got people coming and going because everyone's used to the night shift, and it's just
and the cats that will jump on you in the middle of the night. There's also about 10 times as much traffic on our street as there used to be before they punched the road into Walmart and Sam's Club.
And I learned in high school that cookies were not safe overnight. If I left cookies out, the Cookie Monster would get them when he came home from work at 2 a.m.
Oh, they're very good. Yeah, I've always loved cookies. I don't think we have any in the house now. From Steven, we have what looks like, is that the Big Red Lighthouse?
Yeah.
That's the lighthouse at Holland as seen from, and then we have over on the right side, we have the, is that called the pilot light? What's the light at the end of the pier called?
That's
pier light. I've always called it a pier light. So, Stephen, thanks for the pictures.
Yeah. The light at the end of the pier at Holland State Park is called the Holland Harbor Light.
Harbor.
Oh, no, wait, that's Big Red. That's Big Red.
Okay. Yeah, the one on the north pier, I've always just called it a pier light. So I don't know if there's a specific name for that. I should probably know that. I mean, I lived growing up 2 miles from Lake Michigan. I mean, I should know something about the lake after.
The light at the end of a pier is commonly called a pier headlight or a pier light as a navigation aid to guide boats.
So pier light is acceptable. Okay, neat.
And Stephen, I hope I spelled your name right. I double checked it 4 times. So if I typoed it, my apologies.
Okay.
But thank you for the lovely photos.
Yeah, those are wonderful, and we've really got. I've got pictures here of Holland Beach with a zillion people on a 90-degree day in summer. I should show the contrast and say, here's where you were lying in the sun back in July.
I love going places in the off season, and not just because it's less expensive, but also because of that.
Right. Well,
it's a big difference too. Like hotels in Boston, the difference between summer and winter. My goodness.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Well, look at Mackinac Island. A lot of the motels up there closed as there's not enough business to keep them all open. But the ones that are open, are certainly lower than they would be back in July. But if you're a business like that that's seasonal, let's say you're selling ice cream at the local ice cream stand, you've got a relatively short season, and you've still got to pay your rent. You've got to pay all the expenses, the electricity, and the everything else that you do. So, you have to kind of make that up in the summertime to make a go of it.
And not to go back to my economics 101 class, but prices are probably inelastic in the summer and more elastic on the tail ends of the season and in the winter if you're selling ice cream.
Right. Well, every now and then you can find some real deals in that last week they're open in October up on Mackinac Island.
Yeah, we used to go the Monday and Tuesday of the last week that the Chippewa Hotel was open.
And you wait for the to see the weather forecast, and if you see it's going to be sunny and 60 degrees, go for it.
Or just let it dictate what you do. If the weather's nice, you go do all the walking. If the weather's not so nice, there's some really fun bars.
Yep. And
you don't have to worry about getting hit by a car.
Yeah, that's true. Snowmobile, baby.
You don't have to have a designated driver on Mackinac Island.
A salute to Horns Bar, which has allowed me to take pictures off their webcam up there. Appreciate that. All right, another photo from Stephen. This is looking back on Lake Makatawa from the park that's there. And there's, in fact, one of those picnic tables over there I've used before. But the channel's covered in ice. The lake is covered with ice now. It had thawed out briefly. There was a little ice that formed, and then it thawed out a little bit, and now it's thickening up quite a bit with the cold air that we have here. So interesting. You could tell sometimes which way the wind was coming, from which side the snow was sticking to the trees. You could tell that we had a north wind or an east wind, when the snow was falling. From John Scully.
Hello.
We are looking up at a fine feathered friend.
Enjoying his suet?
Yes, indeed. Can you tell what kind of bird that is?
Suet is the bird feed that lawyers love, by the way.
How's that?
No, I can't tell. I don't know a lot about birds.
Suet, I get it. Suet, lawyer. Took me a while to catch that one. But
That's a happy bird.
Very interesting. Yeah. And it's neat to do that. It's one of the things you can do to help the birds out when you get an extended stretch of cold air with a lot of snow on the ground. They're going to be scrounging around, and food's going to get a little bit skinnier to find here as time goes on.
Oh, we got to go 4 more minutes.
Oh, to make it to
yes,
make it to an official hour. We had one show that was an hour. Which one was that?
I don't remember, but I'm glad I made it through without yawning.
Was that the Terry DeBoer interview, or?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you're getting tired. You're not used to the schedule, but you work odd hours at the airport sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it comes and goes. I'm just still real tired from the issues I've been having with my health.
Okay, and you worked at the airport how many hours today?
7.5. Today wasn't so bad. Yesterday I was there until 3 a.m.
So how long a day was that?
I started at 12:30. I was supposed to be done at 12:30, but if the flight's delayed, we stay 2.
Oh, okay.
And the flight came in at 2:30, and then there's people that have issues, people who need to talk to someone, and you need to assist them with whatever's going on. So we got done at 3.
Okay, tell me something about when you have a big storm like this, how things operate at the airport.
Well, from my perspective, it depends on whether the bags are checked before or after the flight cancels. If all the bags are checked and then the flight cancels, then the people are going to come in at different times than the bags. And sometimes we can have a flight that has 30 or even 40 bags on it that the passengers aren't there. So every single one's got to be pulled off the claim belt, moved over, scanned, researched, find out where the person is, that kind of thing. But today, since we had weather coming through too, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get home. So I brought enough just in case I couldn't. I brought a pillow and a blanket and an extra day of food and stuff, but we made it home okay. But I think now the roads are starting to freeze up.
Yeah. This is quite a change. I mean, you're going to go from, having days in the 60s to near 70 to having days in the 30s to near 40.
Yeah. It says it's 27 right now.
Yeah, that's
but I was cold in Finland, so I got a really warm winter coat. So I've been wearing that. So I've been good.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Never been to Finland. What was the temperature like there? I mean, it probably was pretty damp and chilly when coming off.
Borderline weather. I needed the coat. But I got the coat, and I was happy that I had it.
How many countries have you visited now?
34.
Okay,
but
that's
I've kind of lost count.
Do you have a favorite?
Greece. Definitely Greece. It's so beautiful. We didn't go to Athens. We went to Rhodes, which the hotel staff said not a lot of Americans even go to Rhodes. But it was beautiful. 100% recommend. I would be happy going back to Greece for every vacation and never going anywhere else except now that we're citizens of Luxembourg.
Yeah, we should probably head there at some point in time.
Did you get your letter?
Yes, I did.
Excellent.
But I'm officially a dual citizenship now.
Yep. So exciting.
And that plus, $4 gets you a cup of coffee, right?
Oh, well, I don't know. I think it's pretty
you get
awesome.
a discount at the Luxembourg little place in, what is it, Belgium, Wisconsin? They couldn't
Yeah.
even have their own town name. They had to borrow Belgium to name the town, I guess. But that's where
And
there's
you have the legal right to go and live in your other country.
that's right.
Hmm.
Neat. Well, we'll have to do that. I'm proud of my Luxembourg heritage. It's a nice little country, and
Mhm.
it's amazing that it's stayed the way it is. It's actually, I believe, even smaller than Kent County. But
It survived several partitions throughout
yeah,
history. Different chunks have gone to Belgium, and I don't know about Germany, maybe France. And the language is kind of the best of Germany, of German and French kind of combined.
yeah, it is. It is kind of interesting, and it was interesting that my grandmother on my father's side passed away before I was born, or my grandfather did. My grandmother missed me by about 3 months, so
Hmm.
I never heard them speak. And they insisted on everybody speaking English here. I mean, you're in America, you learn English, you talk English like everybody. And I did not detect an accent in any of my uncles who were the next generation,
Hmm.
except for the fact they talk Chicagoese. The Bears.
Mm.
Hey, look, we made it to an
We
hour.
made it.
Yippee!
Yes. No yawning, one cough. We can edit these things, but it adds a lot of time on for Alex to edit it and get it on the air. So
Sure.
we'll spare him and we'll just leave that part in.
Sounds good to me.
Hmm.
All right, we'll say goodbye to everybody here at this point in time. I hope you stay warm today. Don't forget, pass along the fact that today's the big blizzard anniversary. We didn't talk much about the blizzard of 67, but we did talk about the blizzard of 78, and that was an amazing storm. Find somebody that experienced that and have them tell you some of the stories of dealing with that, or how it was going to school through all the big giant snowdrifts when schools finally opened up. Have a great day, everybody, and thanks for watching till the very end.